Good morning, students. So in this video lecture you are going to learn about physical properties of haloalkanes. Some of the important physical properties are color, state, and then odor, melting and boiling point, and then solubility, okay, and then density. These all physical properties you are going to learn in this lecture. So first one we'll see color. All the haloalkanes, no, they are colorless, but bromides and chlorides, when they are exposed to the light, they show color. Okay. The next physical property is state. You know that the state, that means a compound, if it is existing in the form of solid, liquid or gas, that mainly depend upon its weight, that is molecular mass or the molecular weight. So what exactly it is, for example, the starting members of the haloalkane, methyl chloride, methyl fluoride, all these they are having a less molecular mass. These are existing in the form of gases. As the number of carbon atom increases, the mass of this will be increasing. As a result, the compounds will be existing between liquids to solids. Okay, that is about their state. Coming to, so the next physical property, that is odor or the smell. All these haloalkanes, no, they are having a sweet smell. Okay, so maximum of the cases, no, if the compounds which they are volatile in nature, they will be having this sweet smell. That means the lower members will be showing the smell. The rest of the molecules, no, they are odorless. They do not show any specific odor. The next physical property that you are going to learn is boiling point. What is boiling point? Is the temperature at which the liquid molecule will be converting into its gaseous form. So at that particular state or at that particular temperature, you are going to note down, that is nothing but a boiling point, the temperature at which the liquid will be converting into its gaseous form. So boiling point of a compound mainly depends upon the van der Waals force of attraction. Okay, if there is a more van der Waals force of attraction, the compound will be having a more boiling point. So if the molecule is having more van der Waals force of attraction, that one how we'll come to know is depending upon the molecular mass. If the compound is having more molecular mass, that means the van der Waals force of attraction will also be more. Then that particular compound will also be having a more boiling point. Okay, so in order to convert the molecule from its liquid state to gaseous state, what exactly you are going to do there is, you have to break the intermolecular bond between the molecule. If you break this intermolecular bond between the molecules, then a compound will be converting into liquid to the gaseous state. So don't get confused between the interatomic bond and the intermolecular bond. Interatomic is this. If I break this C and X, this is called as interatomic bond. Whereas in case of boiling point, what bond we are breaking here is, we are breaking the intermolecular bond. Obviously, so many molecules will be bonded here. For example, if the haloalkane I have written here, the halogen of this is bonding with the H of the another alkyl halide. This should be X. Okay, that means between these molecules there exists a bond. If I break this intermolecular bond, then how easily this bond will be broken, that much lower will be the boiling point. Okay, so what you have to remember here is, the boiling point is directly proportional to the molecular mass. The compound is having the more molecular mass, then it will be having more boiling point. Okay, for example, you can see here I have written here some of the compounds. For all these molecules, the R is same. That means consider them as a methyl group only. So methyl iodide, methyl bromide, methyl chloride and methyl fluoride, if you consider, then the one which will be having more molecular mass, that will be having a more boiling point. You can see here, down the group the mass will be increasing. So iodide has a more mass, then Br, then Cl, then fluoride. That is why this is the order for the boiling point. This is for the straight chain molecule. Okay. For the unbranched molecule, how the boiling point varies is, first one I have written here, bromobutane. The second one is 2-bromobutane. The third one is 2-bromo-2-methyl propane. So I have told you that first thing is boiling point is directly proportional to the molecular mass. Okay, you can see here all these three, they are having C4H9 and Br itself. That means the molecular mass of this compound will be same, but you can see the boiling point I have written different. For the first one it is 375, the second one 364, the third one is 346. So what exactly it is happening here is, for the straight chain molecules, the boiling point is directly proportional to the molecular mass. As the molecular mass increases, the boiling point also increases. Whereas all these three, they are having same molecular mass, but still the boiling point is varying. The main reason for this is the boiling point is inversely proportional to the branching. That means as the branching increases in the molecule, the boiling point will be decreasing. What exactly happens here is, for the straight chain molecule, no doubt the molecular mass will be more, and then this boiling point will be 375 Kelvin. For this one, what exactly happens here is, as the branching in the molecule increases, then the surface area between this molecule will be very less. That means here for the straight chain, all the carbon atom and halogen atom, they are compactly arranged. Okay, that is why the van der Waals force of attraction will be more. In case of branching, what happens? There is no force of attraction between each of this molecule. These molecules are separated. That means the surface area here is very less. As a result, what happens? The boiling point will be decreased. So two things you have to remember here is, boiling point is directly proportional to the molecular mass for the straight chain molecule, whereas for the branching, the boiling point is inversely proportional. Okay, this concept is very important. If you make a note of this, like when directly proportional to the molecular mass and inversely proportional to the branching, then this will be clear. The next physical property is solubility. So what is solubility is, you are going to dissolve a molecule in the water. Okay, that means how easily the molecule is dissolved, okay, that much faster will be its solubility. So how you can remember the solubility property is, all these haloalkanes, no, they are slightly soluble in water. Okay, they are slightly soluble in water molecule. The reason is, see, remember, for any molecule to dissolve it in a water, so if I consider here is molecule and that I am dissolving it in a water, so many water molecules will be present here. You know that water is having a hydrogen bonding, that is intermolecular hydrogen bonding is present between the water molecule. So in order for this haloalkane to dissolve it in the molecule, the haloalkane has to break this intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So this intermolecular hydrogen bonding has to break, and then this molecule has to get attached to this one. For example, this bond you have to break, and this oxygen will be attached with this R, like this. In case of this haloalkanes, what happens here is, in order to break this one, once this bond is broken, the energy that is released after breaking this is very less. As a result, what happens? This alkyl halide, it cannot make a bond with the water molecule. That is why all the haloalkanes, no, they are slightly soluble in water molecule. In fact, it is very less solubility itself. Whereas these haloalkanes, no, they are soluble in the organic solvents like CCl4. Okay, so remember one thing, all the haloalkanes, though they are polar in nature, they are not soluble in the water molecule, because the amount of energy that is released when the intermolecular hydrogen bonding is broken by this alkyl halide, it is very less. It becomes very difficult to break this one and make a bond with this water molecule. As a result, the solubility is very less. The next thing that you're going to learn is chemical properties of haloalkanes. Okay, for that you have to know the nature of the carbon and the halogen bond. Haloalkanes are very reactive. The reactivity of these haloalkanes is mainly because of the presence of polar carbon and halogen bond. So here the halogen atom is more electronegative. As a result, what happens? It tries to withdraw the electrons towards itself. So this halogen atom will get a slight negative charge and this carbon will get a slight positive charge. That is why there is a polar bond, that is separation of the charges. One positive and negative charge is nothing but called as polarization. Because of this nature, all the haloalkanes, they are going to undergo some chemical reactions. So, there are three different types of chemical reactions. First one is nucleophilic substitution reaction. The second one is elimination reaction. The third one is reaction with metals. The first chemical reaction, that is nucleophilic substitution reaction. You know that nucleophile is nothing but it is an electron rich species. So all the species which are rich with electrons, they are called as nucleophiles. As a result, what happens? These nucleophiles attack the electron deficient carbon atom. You can see here this is a haloalkane. Okay, this is more electronegative in nature. As a result, what happens? This will be slight negative charge and this will be having a slight positive charge. I am going to carry out a reaction where I am going to attack the nucleophile. So where this nucleophile will attack is this carbon, because it is negatively charged and rich with the electron. So it will attack the electron deficient carbon atom. As a result, what happens to this carbon? A nucleophile will be substituted and then the halogen atom will departs from this group. So you are going to get here X minus. Okay, the order of reactivity for the various alkyl halides towards nucleophilic substitution is, first one is alkyl iodides are greater, then alkyl bromide, then alkyl chlorides, and last comes the alkyl fluoride. This is mainly because of the bond dissociation enthalpy that you have already learned. You are going to learn different kinds of nucleophilic substitution reaction. You have learned different nucleophile like OH and OR, that is alkoxy group, and then CN. All these are the example for the nucleophiles. So how these haloalkanes, how they'll react with this nucleophile, let us see. The first nucleophilic substitution reaction is replacement by hydroxyl group. That is, here there is a formation of alcohols. How the reaction goes is, whenever alkyl halides, when they are reacting with aqueous KOH or aqueous NOH, and when these two are heated, you are going to get a alcohol, and then you are going to get a respective potassium halides. So how the reaction goes is, whenever methyl chloride or methyl bromide, when you react that with the aqueous solution of potassium hydroxide and when you heat, what exactly happens here is, from this KOH, the nucleophile you have to see. The nucleophile is OH minus. So this OH minus will attack this R and this Cl minus will be leaving. So CH3OH plus this K and Cl will combine to form KCl. Okay, so that is why I have written here there is a formation of alcohol. What alcohol you have prepared here is methanol. Okay, you can write the one more example here. That is, whenever ethyl bromide, when you are reacting that with the KOH and heated, remember this is aqueous KOH. That means KOH is existing in the form of pellets. That means it is a solid form. That solid one you are going to dissolve that in a water molecule. That is called as aqueous. If they write here alcohol means, that means a KOH solid compound is dissolved in the alcohol molecule. Okay, so that is a difference between aqueous and alcohol. Here we are using aqueous KOH. When this is heated, same thing, CH3, CH2 as it is, OH will be substituted in place of the halogen atom and potassium bromide will be formed. Okay, remember the nucleophile here, it is OH minus. The next nucleophilic substitution reaction that you are going to study is replacement by alkoxy group. Here the nucleophile is alkoxy group. So what is alkoxy group is oxygen attached to the alkyl group. Oxygen is having a lone pair of electrons. So any molecule or species rich with electrons, they are called as nucleophile. Okay, here OR dash is the nucleophile. So what is this R and R dash is nothing but R and R group may be same, then you are going to write it here RR. If they are different, then you are going to just show it with the dash. Okay, so the nucleophile here is alkoxy group. Now, if I consider one example for this is methyl chloride when it is reacting with sodium methoxide. So R attached with the oxygen is called as alkoxy. So this will be having a negative charge. You know, the nucleophile cannot exist alone. So this will be attached with one positive charge. So together it will be formed as sodium alkoxide, like this. Okay. Same thing here I have used sodium methoxide. So the nucleophile is this OR. That will attack this R and this Cl will be leaving from the group. So what you are going to get is CH3 as it is. This OR, that is OCH3 group, is attached to this R. So OCH3, this Cl and Na will combine to form NaCl. Okay. So you have learnt the functional group. A functional group where oxygen linked with the two different alkyl group or same alkyl group, such a functional groups are called as ethers. So whenever alkyl halides, when they are reacting with the alkoxy groups, then you are going to get the product as ethers. So this preparation that is there in the next chapter, okay, this reaction is given by a scientist Williamson's. This is also called as Williamson's ether synthesis. So what the product you are going to get here is a ether. Remember, you can practice writing the other examples, like you can. Next nucleophilic substitution reaction is replacement by iodide group. If you want to specifically prepare the alkyl iodide, then the haloalkane you are going to react that with the sodium iodide, and then when you heat it you are going to get alkyl iodide. Okay, example for this is methyl chloride. When it is reacting with sodium iodide and when it is heated, you are going to get methyl iodide plus NaCl. That means there is a halogen exchange reaction. Okay, you can practice writing the same reaction by taking ethyl bromide and then by taking ethyl chloride. Okay, rest of the conditions will be same itself. The next nucleophilic substitution reaction is replacement by cyano group. Okay, cyano is nothing but CN. It is also called as nitrite. So whenever alkyl halide, when you are reacting that with the potassium cyanide, and then when you are heating it, you are going to get that is alkyl nitrile, or it is also called as alkyl cyanides, along with the formation of potassium halides. So the example that I can take here is whenever I take methyl chloride and that I am going to react with the potassium cyanide and heat it, you are going to get CH3 C triple bond N plus KCl. Okay. So you can practice writing here by taking ethyl bromide or ethyl chloride. Okay. So cyanide is a nucleophile here. Cn minus will attack this R and X and K will combine to form KX. Okay. The next reaction is replacement by isocyanide group. Okay. Here you can see the carbon is bonded to C of the nitrile group. Whereas here you can see N is bonded to this alkyl group. I'll explain this with a suitable example. When I consider here methyl bromide, when it is reacting with silver cyanide, and when you heat it, what you're going to get is CH3NC plus KBr. Okay, so what is the main thing that you have to focus here is, here the nucleophile is N, that is nitrogen is having a lone pair of electron that will bond to this one. The main difference between cyano and isocyanide is, if from the cyano group, if carbon is bonded to the alkyl group, then it is called as cyano. If the N is bonded to the alkyl chain, then it is called as isocyanide. Okay, so why we are using here potassium cyanide and why we are using here silver cyanide to get isocyanide here is, In both the cases, Cn minus and Cn minus is the nucleophile itself. But why we are getting the two different products is, you can see, in case of KCN, it is a ionic bond because it is a alkali metal. So it will form into K plus and Cn minus. There is a separation of the Cn minus. As a result, what happens? Cn minus can attack to the alkyl group. Whereas in case of silver cyanide, the bond that is between this Ag and Cn is, it is covalent bond. You know that ionic bond can be broken easily, whereas covalent, it becomes very difficult to break. As a result, what happens? The moment this is reacting with the alkyl halide, here there is no separation of the Cn minus. So nitrogen itself is available. So N of this will first bond to the R. So what exactly happens is R is bonded to this N and then this C. Okay. Further, the bond breaking will take place once this N nitrogen is bonded to the R, plus AgX will be formed, this X and silver halide. Okay, remember, in the examination they may ask you for 1 mark, complete the following. Don't get confused between this cyano and isocyanide. When silver cyanide is used, then only you're going to get isocyanide as a product. If they are giving here KCN or they may give you here NaCN, then you're going to get the cyanide as the product. The next nucleophilic substitution reaction is replacement by nitro group. Whenever alkyl halides, when you are reacting that with the alcoholic silver nitrite is nothing but AgNO2. So this silver nitrite is reacting with the alkyl halide. The nucleophile here is NO2. So this NO2 will attack the R and X and Ag will combine to form AgX. Example is methyl chloride. When it is reacting with the silver nitrite and then heated, you are going to get CH3NO2 plus KCl. That is, nitroalkanes are formed. This is called as nitromethane because here I have taken a methyl group. So the name of this is nitromethane. The next reaction is replacement by nitrite group. Here the nucleophile here is this KNO2, you can write it in this way. Okay, so the nucleophile here is ONO2. Whenever methyl bromide, when you are reacting that with the potassium nitrite and when heated, what you are going to get is CH3. The nucleophile is this. So ONO plus KBr is formed. This is called as methyl nitrite. So don't get confused. That is called as nitroalkanes. This is called as alkyl nitrite. The alkyl that I have used here is methyl. So the name of this will be methyl nitrite. Okay. So one important thing that you have to remember here is ambidentate ligands. So what are ambidentate ligands is, there are some of the species which possess two nucleophilic centers. For example, this is cyano. If nitrogen is linked, we are going to call it as isocyano. If carbon is linked, then we are going to call it as a cyano group. So such a compounds or the species which are having two nucleophilic center, even carbon can act as a nucleophilic center and N can also act as a nucleophilic center. These are called as ambidentate ligands. This is one example for ambidentate ligand. The second one is this KNO2. Here N can also act as a nucleophile and oxygen can also act as a nucleophile. If NO2 is acting as a nucleophile, that is N is attached to the alkyl group, then they are called as nitroalkanes. If O is, then they are called as nitrite. Okay, so one thing you have to remember here is these are examples for the ambidentate ligands. Okay, because it is involving two important resonance structure here. So how you can write the resonance structure for this is C triple bond N, which possesses negative charge. Okay, so that is in resonance with C double bond N. That is why N can also act as a nucleophile and C can also act as a nucleophile here. The next nucleophilic substitution reaction is by using ammonia, that is replacement by amino group. So whenever alkyl halides, when you are reacting that with the ammonia is nothing but NH3. So this, out of this 3 hydrogen, the amino group is NH2. Okay, the same NH3 I am writing in this way, NH2 and H. So how exactly the reaction takes place here is the nucleophile here is amino, that is NH2. This will attack this R and X, and this H will combine to form HCl. Okay, the example I have written here is whenever methyl bromide, when it is reacting with ammonia, okay, NH2 is a nucleophile, so that NH2 will attack the R group. R here is methyl and HCl will be formed. You can use a different degree of amines. For example, similarly, like how you have learned primary carbon, secondary carbon and tertiary carbon, no? In case of amine also, we are going to say 3 kinds of amines here. If the NH2 group is attached to 1 carbon, then they are called as primary amine. If it is attached with 2 carbon, then secondary. If it is attached with 3 other carbon, then it is called as tertiary. If I use here primary amine and the alkyl halide, that is ethyl bromide, and when I heat it, so what you're going to get here is 2 ethyl groups are there. It is called diethyl amine. Okay, so HBr will be formed. Simple it is. One of NH2 is having 2 hydrogen. You remove 1 hydrogen and that you combine with Br to form HBr. Okay, similarly, the third example that I have written here is it is having 2 carbon attached to this group. So this is called as secondary amine. So when secondary amine group is reacting with the ethyl bromide, remove this hydrogen and then this Br. HBr will be formed, C2H5, NC2H5. By replacing the Br with the H, this C2H5 will be attacked to this nitrogen. Here, the nucleophile here is this N itself. So N will attack this alkyl group. So C2H5, C2H5, this C2H5 here, HBr. If I take third degree amine, okay, 3 different 3 alkyl groups are attached to the nitrogen. That is when it is reacting with ethyl bromide. Simple. Here, all these molecules, there was a presence of hydrogen, whereas here there is no hydrogen. The lone pair of electron itself is acting as a nucleophile. So this nitrogen will attack the C2H5 and this Br minus will be removed from this group. So how the reaction will be formed is C2H5, 1, 2, 3, 4 are there. So C2H5 4 times. This N as it is, it has lost its lone pair of electron. So that is why I have written here positive charge. In order to stabilize this positive charge, the negative charge, that is Br minus, will be surrounding this. This is called as tetramethyl ammonium bromide. Okay, the degree of this nitrogen here is 4. That is, it is also called as quaternary ammonium salt. Why salt? Because 1 positive charge and 1 negative charge it is there. They are called as salts. Okay, this is also called as quaternary ammonium salt. The next nucleophilic substitution reaction is replacement by carboxylic group. So whenever alkyl halides, when you are reacting that with the silver salts of carboxylic acid, you have learnt carboxylic acid functional group, that is RCOH is called as carboxylic acid. So one of this H plus is replaced with the silver. So silver salt of carboxylic acid, when you are reacting that with alkyl halide. So how the reaction is taking place here is, first thing is you have to identify the nucleophile in this. The nucleophile here is this. Okay, this will attack this R and then X and silver will combine to form AgX. Okay, so we'll see what product you are going to get. The example that I'm taking here is when I consider ethyl bromide, and if I take here silver acetate, that is acetate is CH3COO. So when this silver acetate, when these two are reacted, what exactly you're going to get is this CH3 as it is, COOO as it is, okay, CH3CO. So this is a nucleophile that is attacking this alkyl group. So it will be C2H5 plus AgBr. So this is nothing but ethyl acetate. CH3CO is called as acetate. You have learnt CH3COH is called as acetic acid. If I remove this H, it will be called as acetate. Okay, so that is attached with the ethyl group. So the name of this is ethyl acetate. Okay, so the next nucleophilic reaction is replacement by hydride. So H plus is called as proton, H minus is called as hydride. What exactly the product you're going to get is formation of alkenes. Whenever alkyl halides, when I'm reacting that with H minus, how this hydride is given or formed is by reacting with some specific reagents which will give only the H minus ion here, that is lithium aluminium hydride. This is also called as reducing reagent. Okay, so this lithium aluminium hydride, it is having 4 hydrides here. So that will, each time when you are using one molecule, it will give only H minus. So how the reaction will be formed is this R plus and X minus will be there, and this is negative charge, this is positive charge. R and H will combine here, and this X minus will be removed from the reaction. So if you are using here methyl chloride, so let me write the reaction here. If I am using here methyl chloride and reacting that with H minus, that is lithium aluminium hydride, will give this H minus. So Cl minus you have to remove, Cl minus will be removed, CH3 will combine with this H, so CH4. What you got is alkane. If you are using an alkyl halide, the product that you are going to get will be the respective alkane. If I use here ethyl bromide, then I am going to get here ethane. Okay. The last reaction in the category of this nucleophilic substitution reactions is replacement by alkyl group. So when I use alkyl halide in presence of alkyl lithium, this is called as lithium attached to the alkyl group. Lithium, it is electropositive in nature, so this will be having positive charge and this will be having a negative charge. So alkyl halides, when you are reacting that with the lithium alkyl, you are going to get higher alkanes along with the formation of lithium halide. So you will understand this with this example. Methyl chloride, when I am taking that with the ethyl lithium, so what happens is first you have to eliminate. So lithium, which is having a positive charge, and Cl, which is having a negative charge, that will combine to form lithium chloride. What is left is the CH3 and the C2H5. So CH3 and C2H5. What you got is 2 carbon and 1. This will be called as propane. Okay, that is why here the formation of higher alkanes will be formed. So in this lecture you have learned so many different types of nucleophiles. Okay, so all these reactions are important. You have to practice writing them with taking some other examples so that it will be clear to you.